Who is at risk for PPD? Postpartum depression affects women of every race and across all socioeconomic backgrounds. Often PPD strikes out of the blue. Women with no prior history of depression can all of a sudden find themselves in despair, particularly if they don't develop preventative habits or recognize early warning signs. The following is a list of some of the risk factors for developing postpartum depression. Personal history of depression, bipolar disorder, or PPD, stopping medications for depression or anxiety in pregnancy or shortly beforehand, family history of depression, even in your male relatives, social isolation or lack of support, infertility prior to pregnancy, you're entering pregnancy in a wounded state, stressful life events either during or prior to pregnancy, including the loss of a loved one, relational issues with your partner like a stressful marriage, medical issues during pregnancy or required prolonged bed rest, giving birth to twins or triplets, prior miscarriage or infant loss, or trouble with breastfeeding. While 1 in 7 women experience PPD, 6 out of 7 will not. In other words, most women will never experience PPD. The purpose of providing these statistics is not to instill fear, but so you know what factors might place someone at greater risk. Even having multiple risk factors does not necessarily mean you will get postpartum depression. What causes postpartum depression? It's not just the hormones. There's a lot of research going on trying to understand why some women develop postpartum depression. For years, it was thought to be solely due to the fluctuation of women's hormones, as if that explained both the cause of a woman's anguish and the reason to disregard it. Good news, times have changed, and research has shown greater light on the complexities behind PPD. While there is scientific evidence to show that hormonal changes are present and major contributors to PPD, they are not the only part of the picture. For instance, all women have a drop in hormone levels after giving birth, but most do not get PPD. Mothers who adopt their babies do not have fluctuating hormone levels caused by pregnancy and delivery. Yet nearly as many women who adopt get PPD as those who give birth. Also, men get postpartum depression too. Biological fathers have approximately the same rate of PPD as women who adopt. As you can see, hormonal changes are not the predominant factor causing PPD. There appears to be a combination of genetic, hormonal, environmental, and psychological factors at play. The months after having your first baby are a complex time. There is no single cause of postpartum depression, but instead there are multiple contributors. Let's think of the contributing factors as belonging to one of the following categories and explore them in greater detail. Biological factors, including hormonal fluctuations, genetics and epigenetics can cause or contribute to PPD. Medical conditions such as vitamin D deficiency, hypothyroidism, hyperemesis gravidarum are also associated with PPD. In addition, abruptly quitting breastfeeding can trigger depression. Trauma, meaning psychological trauma, including a recent loss, experiencing domestic violence, having a traumatic delivery, a medically complicated or difficult pregnancy, prior loss of a child or pregnancy, and infertility prior to this pregnancy, all appear to increase the likelihood of PPD. Behavioral factors that can cause PPD include inadequate self-care and prolonged bed rest. Work hours, stress, childcare routines that are excessively rigid or time-intensive or sleep disruptive, as well as short maternity or parental leave, all increase PPD. Psychological factors that increase one's risk for PPD include preemptive grieving of loss of time with your baby, when planning to return to work, believing all your needs must come behind your family's, loss of self, and blaming oneself for a difficult birth or breastfeeding difficulties. The physical changes of pregnancy can also lower self-esteem. It's understandable there's a lot that happens to your body after giving birth. A huge psychological factor that I believe makes a woman more likely to experience PPD is the idea of protection through perfection. This is the cultural belief that if we parent perfectly, our children will be protected from adversity and ultimately be perfect themselves. This belief puts mothers on a parenting tightrope. One mistake and your child won't have as bright a future. Talk about stress. When you're visibly pregnant, every person you know and many you don't start to give you advice. It can feel like the world is judging you. If you're nervous about doing the right things when you're pregnant, all this input can be overwhelming. Trust only trustworthy sources. This means only listening to medical professionals about medical stuff, therapists about psychological stuff, and trusted, knowledgeable people who align with your values about the rest. Relational factors. Having a strong support network can make a big difference in how much you enjoy motherhood. Social isolation or lack of assistance in child-rearing can make the task of parenting overwhelming and lead to PPD. Having a partner in parenting who has your back can make all the difference. At the same time, any relationship issues you have become magnified with the pressure of child-rearing and lack of sleep. Of course, a single mom can raise a child and enjoy it, but she must take extra care to make sure she has lots of supports in place. This may sound wild, but the demands of motherhood are rarely mentioned as a possible cause of depression. Having a baby is an exhausting, depleting experience. Yes, it's also wonderful, but the psychological strain and emotional toll of birthing is big. It's even greater if you've had a prolonged labor or need a C-section. What other major surgery does one have in which you are handed a baby to take care of before you even leave the operating room? The demands of parenting never end. Breastfeeding, feeding, changing, dressing, nurturing, bathing takes almost every hour of the day. And all this is done while maintaining a constant radar for your baby's safety. If you add some self-doubts, a dose of colic, and only a dash of sleep in 2 months, you've got a recipe for depression. I'm not saying motherhood isn't profoundly rewarding. Motherhood can also provide the opportunity for greater connection and contentment. Please note that it is normal to experience multiple risk factors listed before. They are all signs of just being human. We're complicated, imperfect beings, and it's this complexity that makes us unique and interesting. I explained all these potential causes of PPD because each of them is a potential booby trap. The more you understand what might trip you up, the better you can plan for it. Information is your best weapon against depression.